We know that disaster and health is a term that we have discussed yesterday with respect to the human health hazards. And today also we are continuing with the same aspects, some more aspects, and some management aspects, and what are the steps that one should take with respect to the management of health hazards due to the disasters that we shall discuss today. And we know that our health is mainly determined by the social status, the economic status, the cultural and physical environment where we live in. So our health is mainly determined by these aspects, that is social, economic, cultural and physical environment. Health effects are those nothing but those changes in health which is going to be resulted because of exposure to a particular source. Any health disaster or any health imbalance or any health problems in a population or in a community or in an individual is going to be resulted basically when those individuals or an individual get himself or the community get itself exposed to a particular source. You may be exposed to an earthquake, you may be exposed to a volcano, you may be exposed to tsunami, or you may be exposed to the polluted areas. So likewise, it all depends upon as to how an individual is going to be exposed to a source or how the community is going to be exposed to a source. So based on that, you are going to see the impacts or the effects of the health. So whenever we are going to be living in an ecosystem, so the social status, our health is going to be decided by, so what type of the social relationships that we are having, what is the social groups that we are associated with. So it depends upon that one. And also, suppose there is any problem, what is the economic status of an individual or the community to manage the health problem, and what are all the practices that we are adopting. See, cultural practices. So in this regard, if I want to say, in some areas we know that people are having a certain belief. So I do not call it exactly it as a superstitious or something else like that, because since ages they have practiced it. For example, a person is walking on the fire, isn't it? On the burning fire, the charcoal, they are going to walk in. And they feel that nothing is going to be burned to their feet or something else like that. So that is their cultural practices. So now there are many such type of practices that they are going to carry on. And sometimes the environment where we live in, the physical environment, that means where you are going to have your inhabitation, whether you are going to inhabit yourself in the coastal areas or on the bank of a river or on an area which is more prone for the drought and desertification. So where exactly you are going to inhabit. So all these things are going to be determining the health of the individuals. For example, there are many people who are going to be dwelling in the nearby areas of industries, because most of them are going for various industries. They are workers there. So they feel that if they make a housing or habitation elsewhere, it may not be able for them able to reach them in time for their work, or it may not be convenient for them to attend to their work. Like that they may feel. So they want to go and settle in the immediate vicinity of the place where they have been employed, like the industrial areas. So even in such cases, because in an industrial area, we know that various types of pollutants are being released from various industries, both into the atmosphere as well as onto the land surface. And an individual who are making an inhabitation in the nearby area may not be able to take care of himself or herself, wearing a mask and other aspects, for example. So likewise, the physical environment also will play an important role in determining the health of the individuals. The term health problem means it is a disease or a medical ailment, or even it may be the health of an environment. If the environment is not healthy, if it is not good enough, so it may cause various types of problems to all the living entities. So it is a problem that is going to be associated, or it is going to be used in the context of a disease or a medical ailment or an environmental condition, wherein wherever the individuals are living, it poses as a risk for occurrence or incidence of a disease. So that is what we call it as the health problem. So health problem normally is nothing but a disease or a medical ailment or an environmental condition where it is a condition that poses the risk for such type of things in any area. The slide is not. Okay. Is the slide is visible? Is it moving?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in a disaster, we know that an individual is going to face the danger of an injury or a death, something like that. So whenever there is disaster, naturally, so even there will be an agony, there will be a sort of what can say mental depression they may undergo. Okay, mental health problems also may be resulted. So suddenly there is an earthquake, suddenly there is all of a sudden a flooding or a what we can say a hurricane. So people who cannot expect suddenly such type of dangers, so then they may get shocked themselves for such an untoward incident or unnatural events. So that is what will happen in a death. Sometimes because of such a sudden what we can say the danger of a natural hazards, the death may be resulted, or because of the shock they may even undergo a cardiac arrest or a heart failure may be resulted, or sometimes because of the various throwing of the materials, stones, etc., or damage, or what we can say the houses being getting damaged. So by many such activities the physical injuries may be resulted in an individual, and many people may lose their home and properties as such in a disaster. And when all these things will happen, the individuals will automatically will be under stress. So when something happens to their property or to their health or to their family, automatically they will be under stress. So this stress leads to them for various health problems. It may be a physical health problem or it may be an emotional health problem. So stress may be resulted. So to overcome that stress, what one should think is that he should be mentally strong, one thing. Second thing, he should not get himself, he or she should not get themselves upset with any of such type of disasters, and they should try to control, try to be stable with their, what we can say, thinking, action, and everything. So that is what actually should be practiced. But however, it is not going to be as easy as we speak. So many people will be developing stress, and such stressors will be there in a place of disaster. So stress reactions look very common after any type of disaster. Now, what is the qualities of a good health? Suppose an individual wants to live long, he wants to have a healthy life. So the key for having such a long and healthy life is the lifestyle. The lifestyle is very, very important. So the lifestyle behaviors are very, very essential to maintain a good health. So one should sleep enough. It doesn't mean that one should sleep for 24 hours. Okay. So at least 6 to 8 hours one should have a sound sleep, and one should consume a healthy diet, avoiding the junk foods and other things. Okay. And an individual should be physically active. So it should not be lethargic. It should not be dependent upon a vehicle or transport or somebody to carry him like that. So an individual should be as much as possible, should be physically active. And they should maintain their healthy body weight. They should not have any obesity. They should not develop obesity and all these things. And some habits like smoking and other things, even over alcoholing, over drinking, all these things should be avoided. So if a person is going to practice all these things, then you can expect a good quality life in an individual. Now, when such, assuming that an individual is going to have a healthy life, he doesn't have any, what we can say, bad habits, and he is having the healthy food, he is being physically active, assuming that he is having a very good health and all these things. In spite of that, when a disaster takes place, when an individual gets himself exposed to the disaster, he himself does not get exposed. It is because of the disasters he is getting exposed. So when such disasters takes place, so various health complications or problems are going to be resulted. Now, what are these health implications of disaster? So these health hazards may be the direct health hazards or maybe the indirect health hazards due to the disaster. That means direct health consequences such as injuries and deaths to the individuals or to the plants or to the animals can be seen. And the indirect health consequences are nothing but it is going to always alter the environmental conditions whenever there is a disaster like earthquake, cyclone, tsunami, flooding. The entire environmental conditions, both on the land, air, and water, all these things, all these various parts of the earth get disrupted. It gets imbalanced. It may get contaminated. So when such unhealthy scene is going to be created in the environment, then it offers scope for the growth of various disease causing microorganisms. And when these disease causing microorganisms increase in their number and start multiplying, and when they affect the disease in a particular group of individuals or a population, and from this population, it may keep on spreading to another population, from one area to another area, one area to another area. So in other words, and these things are possible for spreading because of the growth of certain, what we can say, the disease carrying animals, whoever those disease carrying animals, they are called vectors. They are generally called vectors like mosquito and other flies. So these vectors carry the various disease causing microbes, and when they are going to make their livelihood and when they increase in their population, automatically then the disease also is going to spread from one individual to another individual. All of you are very very commonly familiar with that spreading of the disease, malaria and other things. So they are all called communicable diseases. They are called communicable diseases. Suppose the water gets contaminated and you will not be knowing what type of contamination that has taken place in a water, and all of you are using the same water at different places, and you may get a disease. All the individuals may get a same type of disease, maybe a cholera, maybe a typhoid. So it's all, so such type of diseases are called communicable diseases, which result due to the contamination of the water, the food, and all these things. Now, this contamination of water is going to be resulted primarily because of the disposal system. So, from industries and domestic sewage, so we are going to see all these sewages, industrial effluents or sewages and domestic sewages are all entering into the water body. And as soon as they enter into water body, the water body gets contaminated and polluted, no doubt. And at the same time, for an ocean or for a river, you cannot have a treatment plant. A treatment plant for the entire area or for the population of the world to control it. So that's why one should not contaminate any natural resources. Okay. And the indirect health consequences due to disasters also include the disasters due to overcrowding. Naturally, when a volcano or an earthquake or something like that is going to be resulted, all the people will start moving towards one place and getting themselves crowded. So overcrowding, in that overcrowding, if a person is having any health hazards, it may start spreading to the other individual also. And till an alternative disaster management plan is going to be executed or the rehabilitation is going to be established, so they will be in the same place. So naturally, there is a more scope for getting these diseases being spread. And additionally, there will be a poor environmental sanitation. So because of all these things, the disease causing organisms or carriers or vectors will be on the rise. So such type of health consequences are the indirect health consequences. So normally after a disaster, the direct health consequences are either the death or injuries, while the indirect health consequences include the development and creation of an environment or a habitat that is suitable for the growth of disease causing pathogens or microorganisms or vectors, which may result in the occurrence of various communicable diseases that may get transmitted from one individual to another individual. Now, always morbidities, that means you cannot expect in any area that all the individuals of a population are 100% healthy. So there are certain individuals which will be who are going to be definitely unhealthy. So such type of morbidities even also exist, they pre-exist in such communities before even the occurrence of disasters. Even before the occurrence of disasters, one is going to see such type of morbidities. And all natural disasters or emergency have an impact on the health system. All the natural disasters may not be having a sudden or direct impact on the health system. Suppose, assume that there is a cyclone or a drought. Immediately, if drought is going to be resulted today or tomorrow, within no time you cannot expect that the health hazard is going to be taking place in a population like that. So likewise, not all natural disasters or emergency have an impact on the health system. So it depends upon various factors, how this health system is going to be affected. It depends upon what is the type of disaster, what is the type of disaster, then what is the pre-disaster status of the individuals or the community in that given area, and what is the disease pattern of the area in that area. Was there any type of disease that was prevailing earlier or like that? So all these factors, and whether there will be the displacement of the people from any other area to your area or from your area to other area, that is called population displacement. Immigration, emigration, migration. So all these things are associated with population displacement. So the occurrence of the health problems depends upon even such type of population displacements, and how good you are to resist any disaster. What is your effectiveness to respond to the disaster? It also depends upon that one. And what is your socio-economic status of the area even prior to the emergency? So all these are also having an effect on the health. So these are certain implications prior to the disaster. We know that natural disasters cause very much public health emergencies. Okay, so it is going to displace a large number of people from one area to another area. There will be a significant displacement of the individuals or population, so to say. So this is also one of the things. And basic health and medical infrastructure damage is going to be resulted. When an area is going to be affected with any sort of disaster, the health and medical facilities will be also affected. And the fundamental problem that lies with the disaster is the availability of the food, shelter, and clean water. Because we know that these are the basic needs for any individuals. So this is going to be the problem.
ಇವಾಗ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಅವರ್ ಯಾರ್ದಿದೆ ಫ್ರೀನಾ? ಹಂಗಾರೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಜೆರಾಕ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡಿ.
So primary problem also lies with
ಆಯ್ತಾ
Now-
2 ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ
transmission of disease
ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಹೂ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ
and in
ಅಂತ ತಲೆನೇ ಆಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ
ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತ್ ಸರ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತ್ ಅವರು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್ ಶ್ರೀಕಾಂತ್ ಸರ್
Srikanth. Should not know. Okay. So now these disasters may also act as a catalyst for the transmission of diseases and infection because it is going to generate lot of dust, pollutants, migration of the people. So likewise, there are so many what we can say the cumulative factors that are going to affect the occurrence of a disease. And the impact, the disaster's impact on public health system and its protection infrastructure like water, sanitation, shelter, food, nutrition, all these things are going to be affected whenever there is a disaster. Now, what is public health? What is the meaning of public health? We always speak that whenever a disaster is going to take place, the public will be affected with their health problem. So the public health, according to the medical dictionary, it can be defined or explained as the science and practice of protecting and improving the health of a community as by preventive medicine, health education, control of communicable disease, application of sanitary measures, and monitoring of environmental hazards. So this science, right, what we are going to say is the public health science. So it is involving all these things. Any such type of what we can say that any sort of disease that is going to be resulted due to any disasters, so should be controlled, that health hazard should be controlled, and whatever the means or methods that you are going to adopt or practice for the better health of a community by using various preventive medical measures, including the sanitary measures and monitoring of the environmental hazards is associated with public health. So public health, even what we can say, challenges in emergency. So in an emergency settings, what we can say, the mission of public health will be intensified more and more. So because whenever a disaster takes place and the public health is going to be broken out or it is going to happen or occur, so resources and infrastructure may get destroyed after a disaster. So people will make a hue and cry for their survival. There may be various types of patients even, isn't it? So even the normal individuals may be affected by the various communicable diseases also. So, and to treat them immediately, you may not get the proper medicines or the infrastructure because they get destroyed. And supply and communication chains are also going to be disrupted. So you want to get some medicine, assume that somewhere disaster has taken place at the next place. From a Y place, the medicines have to be moved. Between the distance, between the, when you transport the medicines from Y to the X spot, in between there may be many hurdles, isn't it? The road itself might have been damaged, wherein it can't support the movement of the vehicles. So because in a vast area when disaster has taken place, so it is very difficult to immediately attend to the supply of medicines or medical facilities from one area to another area. And as a result, the populations are going to be extensively or massively affected. Even when it is going to be affecting the entire community for a longer period of time, and if some people, some health personnel go there to treat them, even they may be also attacked because people are under stress, and the individuals are under stress, their behavioral pattern also changes, isn't it? When a timely medical measures are not going to be there, so whoever is going to come, if at all, especially if they are government doctors or staff members, medical facilities, people will immediately get themselves enraged and attack these people. No, you are not taking care of us properly, you are not attending to us. This is a child, this is an aged person, like that. There are so many So such quarrels, conflicts, all these things are, these are all the social problems that are going to be developed whenever such type of the emergencies will be there for health hazards. And the pre-impact condition is the individuals are going to have the pre-impact conditions, hazard exposure. Individuals are going to be exposed for various hazards. There will be a physical vulnerability, social vulnerability. So then the health system performance, whether you may be having the financial support or you may not be having the financial support. So you may not be having certain resources. And even though some people wanted to address the problems while delivering certain services, there may be certain what problems. So likewise, there may be the lack of communication, because even if they want to communicate from one place to another place, the area may get disrupted with many things. Electricity may not be there, internet may not be there, phone facilities may not be working. So many things may be resulted. So when I say people will be under the vulnerability, so what is this vulnerability? It is nothing but the inability to resist to a hazard or to respond to a disaster whenever it has occurred. So that when you don't have the ability to resist a hazard, or you cannot respond to the disaster whenever it is going to occur in a proper way, so you will be vulnerable. That is what is called vulnerability. Okay, the extent to which a community or a structure or a service or a geographical area is likely to be damaged or disrupted by the impact of particular disaster hazard is called vulnerability. So due to a particular particular disaster hazard, a community is going to be affected. To what extent this community is going to be affected? To what extent the structure of the area is going to be affected, or the services are going to be disrupted, or the entire geographical area is going to be damaged. So when such things happen, automatically that you call it as the vulnerable situation. So the extent to which a community or a structure or a service or a geographical area is likely to be damaged or disrupted due to the impact of a particular disaster, you call it as vulnerability. So in other words, it is the propensity of the things to be damaged by a hazard. You might have lost the house, you might have lost the the family members. So it is a social vulnerability. So if somebody dies, during that one, and if you are alive, and if you are seeing and experiencing their death, or whenever the flood is there, suppose somebody is being carried in the flood and they are drowning, see, look at that. That is what is the damage or the hazard that one is going to face. That is called vulnerability. So the direct impact of these disasters, it includes mortality. The death rate will be on a high note. There will be a trauma. So stress will lead to various sort of physical trauma may also be there. And many people may render homeless. And people are going to be affected, and immediate medical assistance it may not be available. Even to provide the basic needs of food, water, and sanitation may become problematic. Now, the result of these things will be, it leads to the communicable diseases. There will be psychological effects. When people or the family or the community get aparted themselves, they get aparted or separated themselves from one area to another area. So they will be having a certain psychological effect for their kith, and they develop certain things. It is all because of their bonding or obligations when they are living together. So all these things are going to be resulted. The food and availability of the nutrition will be at stake. So there are various health problems. So these are all certain health implications of the disaster that one is going to see. The environmental health is related to the water, sanitation, hygiene, and vector-borne conditions. So this is going to be resulted due to poor water supply. Water supply may not be there. there may be inadequate hygiene and sanitation. So if everything is normal, for example, even in the urban environment, we have seen that every day in the morning hours, the corporation staff will come, collect the waste and other things, and they try to keep entire thing environment clean. But when a disaster takes place here, can you expect these corporation authorities to come and clean the garbage or rubbish or something refuse? No, you cannot expect. So likewise, there may be inadequate hygiene and sanitation. And there may be an increased incidence of diarrhea, dysentery, respiratory infection, communicable diseases, all these things due to the what? Non-hygienic environment. And you cannot expect a proper wastewater management system wherever the disaster has taken place. Now, other problems related with these health concerns is the disease epidemic. So, water related communicable diseases like diarrhea, typhoid, hepatitis, leptospirosis. These are all the various kinds of diseases that normally occurs.
Antappa Chavan sir, mute the phone.
Problem, water pollution, or it may be disease associated with crowding. So whenever you are going to be crowded, you may develop sometimes the diseases like measles, meningitis, certain viral infections. Why during Corona people, I mean, everyone was suggesting that you should maintain a distance. You should maintain a distance because these viruses, which are invisible, and which can easily be carried to another individual through respiration. So that is why, so overcrowding should not be there in any of the area where diseases have been spread or the disease causing pathogens are on the rise. Now, one may develop even because of overcrowding. So whenever there is crowding, it may also result ARI, that is acute respiratory infections. Acute respiratory infections may be resulted. And vector-borne disease, as I explained, it will be there. Malaria, dengue, other type of various types of diseases will be there. And whenever people are going to be aggregating themselves, right, crowding themselves, even the animals also be there. They will be having so many pets and other animals like dogs and other things will be there. So if dogs population increase, because they also want to come to a particular place where the human population is there. So you have offered food for them, you might have taken care of it. Now it won't go anywhere. It will be there. And if some stranger, somebody comes, it may bite. So if it carries the disease carrying vectors, so it may result in the disease rabies. So likewise, all possible types of chances of getting the diseases will be there because you cannot live without your pets or animals that you have taken care of. So mass immunization is the need of the hour when such disaster has taken place. So it has to be there, but it is a challenge. So it is a challenge in where it is going to occur in a community. When thousands of people have been crowded at one particular place or particular inhabitant area, I mean, of course, tents and other schools and various buildings are going to be let in there, but even there also, you cannot have a sufficient space. So you will be always crowded. So mass immunization becomes a problem which is required for the population or the community. So when such things does not going to be taking place, once again it may result in various diseases like hepatitis B, tuberculosis, measles, and even there may be the nutrient deficiency of the vitamin A, etc. So all these which support the immunization may be lost. There may be shortage of the food. There may be, even if the food is going to be sufficiently given from the place where it has to be transported, so it has to be carried properly. So if it is not going to be taken care immediately right in time, so it may get spoiled. isn't it? And once the food has come, the distribution problem, everybody will be crowded even to get the food. So, and what is the food that you have taken? Is it a hygiene? Is it a good one? Is it a quality one? Is it safer? Huh? So suitability of that food safety also should be attended to. So there are the challenging problems that is associated with the public health. And people become panic whenever suddenly an earthquake or a volcano or tsunami, something takes place, people become panic. So how to regulate their panic condition, mental health, how to console them, how to infuse confidence in them that nothing will happen, oh, we will take care of it, something like that. So anyone, whether it is, it's all ultimately the humans, it is the human ethics that one should have to attend to all these problems. So population displacement will be taking place. And even amidst of this, in that population, there may be the elements or individuals which behave indifferently. Antisocial behavior also you can expect. Sudden strikes, sudden protests, sudden manhandling, all these things may be resulted. So these are all the certain reactions that is associated with the public health. And routine immunization program, vector control, disease carrying. Suppose mosquitoes are on the rise, how to control these vectors? So it may damage, and even the what we can say, the water supply system should be properly managed. Otherwise, it may lead to the disease. And whenever the earthquake has resulted, many people die. The dead body should be immediately carried, isn't it? If that dead bodies is not going to be properly disposed, and if it is lying in the same area where the people are still living, alive, struggling to move out, so they may are exposed to the various diseases, wherein pathogenic organisms may be growing on the decaying bodies. And for the rescuers or the persons or the personnel or the staff who are associated with these rescue operations during disasters, they too also will be having a lot of problem. There will be handling technique because they should have the immunization before coming to such type of activities of hepatitis B or tuberculosis, etc. Otherwise, they are going to be affected. And they should have been trying to use the body bags, gloves, disinfectant of the equipment. So all these things should be made properly, and that is also the problem that is associated with the public health. So ultimately, there will be the primary healthcare facilities must be extended. Normal living conditions will not be possible, and long-term impact will be the indirect impact may be the healthcare facility, normal living condition, and external infrastructure damage. This one may try to take care of or rectify, but the long-term impact, that is very very significant here, because post-disaster failure to restore normal public health program, if it is not going to be implemented, so it may be carried from one population of one area to another area. And there should be sufficient food and nutrition for the people. And if there is no such plans or programs to cater to the displaced population who have been affected with disasters, so it will be a great problem. So likewise, all these things are very important, because malnutrition may be resulted if there is deficiency of proteins in the food, and proteinaceous food is not going to be supplied. So we call it as protein energy malnutrition is going to be resultant. It is a disease. Protein energy malnutrition. It is a disease. So it is because of a gap that is going to be developed between the intake and the requirement. You require some food, some quantity, and before you consume it, if there is a lot of gap, if there is a lot of barrier, okay, then that food gap that is going to be there is going to cause this protein energy malnutrition disease. Especially it is seen among the children and the people who are from a poor economic status. Now, this is what even yesterday also I told you, it results in various chronic respiratory diseases and chronic respiratory problems. and long-term effect will be the hygiene and restoration and all these things. Now, post-disaster management, that is, after disaster have taken place, we are going to settle the people, no doubt, at one particular area. We may give them shelter, we may give food and everything. But what about the disposal and management of this human excreta? Because you have to see that these human excreta should not be in the vicinity of the people who are going to be what, rehabilitated or what we can be accommodated in a nearby area or to a safer area till they are going to be properly what we can say made to settle with in a hygienic environment. So how you are going to manage? This is a challenge once again. Okay, and whenever the population is there to a greater extent, the development of these flies, rats, mosquitoes, which may cause various diseases, controlling of these things will be also a challenge. And of course, immunization, giving immunization, because everybody wants very quickly like that. So you cannot expect, even if the coronavirus is taking place, everybody had a mad rush to take that, what? Injection, anti-coronavirus. Like, so likewise, for immunization, what we can say, for immunization purpose, so there will be a greater rush, there will be a conflict, there will be always management aspects is very difficult problem here. Now, this is due to floods. See, whenever flood takes place, or the individuals or community are exposed, see, one is the socio-economic impact will be there, or infrastructures will be affected, or the environment is going to be affected. So to put everything in a nutshell as an example. Now, what are the socio-economic impact that we can see due to the flood? So loss of livelihoods or assets, loss of shelter, displacement, erosion of community social structures and cropping mechanisms. And this in turn leads to epidemic outbreaks, that is various diseases like measles, acute respiratory infections, and it leads to increased malnutrition, mental and psychosocial disorders. So all such type of things are going to be resulted. Ultimately, it leads to the mortality. Similarly, if the floods is going to affect the infrastructure, there will be the destruction of the healthcare infrastructure. Assume that a proper infrastructure, it has to be there. Assume that there will be an X-ray machine. X-ray machine gets damaged. So where exactly your bone has been fractured, how to give, isn't it? Where your hip joints have been fractured. So for all these things, these infrastructures should be available. So during flooding, even into a hospital or into a nursing place or into a medical care places, if water gets gushed in, so it may damage all the things. If the electricity is not there, so how can they carry out any such type of treatment measures? So automatically it leads to reduced health care, reduced access to healthcare system, and the outcome is that once again there will be the incidence of increasing chronic diseases which remain for a long period of time, and that may lead to ultimately mortality. And if the environment is going to be affected, and if there is no clean water, and if it supports the growth of parasites and microorganisms, so it leads to various diseases like cholera, typhoid, diarrhea, and all these things. So even from this also you can see a greater mortality. Even there will be poisonous water snakes. Remember, even whenever flooding takes place, there are many animals also may start what? Moving along with that flood water into the area and may damage the human life. Now, similarly, whenever there is a severe drought, how it is going to be resulted? So there may be water shortage. So if there is water shortage, once again, skin diseases, eye diseases, all these things will be resulted. So if it goes beyond treatment or control, it may lead to the mortality. Similarly, when the drought is there, the crop failure will be there. livestock is going to be affected. Know that India is ranking #1 in livestock in the world. So livestock population ranking and human population ranking, India is ranking #1. So we have got a greater livestock or cattle population. So if there is a severe drought, all these individuals are going to be dying. And when they die, once again, the chances of what we can say, the growth of pathogenic organisms will be on the rise. So it's all in a chain link. One action or one functioning will be affecting another functioning. So that is how it is going to be result. So doctors usually, normally, whenever such type of health hazards are going to take place, they treat one by one, isn't it? They cannot treat at a time all the individuals. Right. So they should treat one by one, and it takes time for them to diagnose the problem of the health hazards. So that is why they go very systematically and scientifically. And public health professionals monitor and diagnose the health concerns of entire community. So the public may also say they will be involved in kicking whether the doctors is properly attending, whether it is being properly diagnosed, whether the community has been attended to. So there will be once again various things. And if there is by chance, because of some reason, if a doctor is thinking of diagnosing, or if there is a slight delay or some negligent, or by chance naturally, rather than the negligence of the doctor, because of the lack of immunity or resistance, if an individual collapses, immediately the people will mob themselves and attack the doctor. See, he is also a human being. He cannot treat all the hundreds of individuals at a time whenever a disaster has taken place and people are going to be affected. So the behavior of population also is very, very important in managing these health disasters. Health disasters after exposing themselves to a particular disaster, environmental disaster. And it is said that healthcare is vital to all of us some of the time, but public health is vital to all of us all of the time. Because because if the entire community is healthy, you will be healthy. But if you are unhealthy, you may spread the disease to another individual, and the chances that you may damage the community. Instead, if the entire public health is important, if the entire community is good enough, then automatically you will be very safe. That is what the saying goes. Now, general impact of disasters and health systems, if you look in. So, health workforce involves illness, disability, death due to hospital-acquired infections, injuries, and violence. Even the health workforce, they may also be affected during what? Management of such persons who are affected with disease with respect to their health problems during disasters. Displacement as a result of insecurity or destruction of living quarters. So even the people who come for you to treat, they should also have a place to live, isn't it? Even if there is a temporary shelter, if it gets by chance damaged, where they will go? They too also, as I told you earlier, they are also human beings. They too also want to survive. And there will be a psychological trauma due to illness, death, and disease of colleagues, displacement. All these things will be resulted even among the health workforce. And a proper health information management system, if at all, is not there, once again, you cannot have an effective disaster management with respect to the health. So, because there will be communication gap will be there, and many doctors will go even voluntarily to treat the individuals whenever a disaster has taken place. See, just for example, imagine in the recent disaster wherein about 41 people were stuck in that tunnel. So many arrangements have made a temporary arrangement of ICU with facilities to monitor their health, and many doctors, government doctors, private doctors, volunteers. So everyone have been there to render their helping hand to see that these people should be properly taken care of. So that is how all these arrangements are all challenges in management of the diseases. And financial support. So when people who are going to lose their health, property, kith and kin and family members like that, so they are all going to have lot of economic problems, financial problems. So many people will lend their support, no doubt, but in spite of that, for a huge population, it may not be sufficient enough to what? Taken care of and also to improve their economy in the long term. So that problem also will be there. And the health service delivery with respect to that, if you look at, so there may be, if the population is keeping on increasing, that is population of the people who are affected due to disasters. So automatically you will be having a reduced access to health services, because the proportion of the health workers or the doctors or the staff members who are going to take care of the people should be in sufficient number. So suppose there is one doctor, for how many individuals he can treat, isn't it? If all of a sudden there are 200, 300 individuals are gathering, and so there should be sufficient doctors. Okay. So likewise, all such type of problems will be there in the health system. The World Health Organization has developed a framework to meet the requirement of the people who are going to be affected with disasters in a proper way. So according to that systematic, there should be service delivery, what we can say, and health workforce, information, medical products, financing, leadership. So all these things, different blocks have to be established, and each one has been assigned a particular duty to look at the improved health and the responsiveness and the social and financial risk protection and improvement of the efficiency of all these things. So for attaining these things, the leadership and the governance is also equally important. So they have developed certain, what we can say, the framework as to how to manage and mitigate this disaster. Public health network is not an easy one. See, look at here in this photo, probably you can understand, whenever due to disasters that is take place, to manage the public health, so what are all the various individuals that should be associated together? So you can just imagine here, laboratory facilities, drug treatment, mental health, tribal leaders, civic groups, schools, universities, officials, nursing homes, politicians, religious leaders, agriculture, health department, information communication department, police security, right? So fire, emergency, employers, all of them, if all these people or the departments are associated, and they should go in a coordinated manner or an integrated manner. So if there is no coordination between one group to another group, once again, the individuals are going to be affected with the various health hazards. So that is why public health network involves almost all people from all possible sectors. So you should not develop the feeling of what when I say, you should develop the feeling of oneness, and you should not discriminatory feelings, you should not develop. If you discriminate between yourselves that, oh, it does not belong to my caste, my religion, my area, like that, such type of things, if at all is going to be established, everybody will be singled out and everybody will be risking their life. So that is how in a public health network system, all the individuals should be equally important. And there are many ongoing public health emergency response. Okay, environmental hazard identification, one should do it, what type of hazard it is, and consultation should be done. And for what are the various types of diseases that treatment facilities are being available. So like this, all these parameters should be looked in to have a suitable public healthy health. Public health should be healthy, so to say. So infectious disease control, risk communication, so all these things. And if the people are going to be affected in en masse with particular disease, the evacuation program also should be carried out. So there are many challenges in managing the people who are going to be affected from such type of health illness. So disaster response organizations play a crucial role or a critical role. And when disaster happens anywhere, there may be many organizations that may be collaborating. Okay. Even there will be both government organizations as well as non-government organizations that will come and collaborate themselves and partner themselves for an effective assistance to the people who are victimized under such type of disasters. So there are many organizations that is been available throughout the world. For example, CARE is a leading humanitarian organization fighting global poverty. So these are some of the organizations, leading organizations that are associated with managing the health, especially the health of the people who are affected due to the disasters. The International Medical Corps will be there. International Rescue Committee is there. So to see that the individuals should be properly socio-economically and health-wise should be attended to. Okay. So Doctors Without Borders, it is called Medicine Sans Frontiers, helps providing people worldwide where there is a greatest need, urgent need, emergency. So they come from one place to another place, from one country to another country. So irrespective of the interrelationship between two nations or two countries or two communities, they will come and serve. So such type of organizations are also there. Then Save the Children. There is one more organization in the world, an independent organization which gives importance to save the children, especially after disasters, and respond to the children and their family immediately whenever a disaster strikes. So such organizations are also there. And UN High Commissioner for Refugees is there. UNHCR is there, also known as UN Refugee Agency. So that will also come at any place, whether it is during a war scenario or during a disaster. So many such bodies will volunteer, come and try to protect the human population. The World Food Program is also there, another organization wherein it is going to cater to the food needs of the people who are going to be affected with the disasters. Now, what one should have basic items to have in case of a disaster or an emergency is that, so every individual should be provided with, I mean, there should be at least minimum 4 liters of water per person per day. Because to evacuate the people from one place to another place, it may not take all of a sudden, isn't it? So if at least for the survival, 72 to still 3 days time, 86 hours, something like that. So at least 2 weeks supply for home, there should be the availability of the water. You should carry some more water is important. And you should have non-perishable food items with you anytime. The people who are knowing that they are living in coastal area, for example, they must have all these things always in their home. For 3 days, suppose all of a sudden, if flooding take place, what about my food? If there is some disaster, how I should manage myself? A food which does not going to rot. So likewise, they should have such type of things. And there should be electricity, power, and everything will go off. So you should have such type of flash lights or any such, for all these things for communication, so to say, communication. First aid kit one should have, or in an area or in a community place. All these things will be there. And if the people are there who are educated and who are using technological support to have the maps of the area, where in an emergency you can take them to hospitals or shelters or need the requirement of the police assistance for all these things. So one should have all these basic items in any area. So even sanitation and personal hygiene items also should be maintained during, I mean, in case of any disaster or emergency. Okay. So You know that whenever you are going to be affected, sometimes they will ask you, what is your name, what is the birth certificate, proof of your address, isn't it? For many of the benefits in the long term, even after disaster also, post-disasteral, what we can say, operations or management aspects involves all these things. So suppose people were missing, you need the emergency contact numbers or their identifying marks or addresses, something like that. So all these things you must have. Blankets should be there, emergency blankets should be there. Now, with respect to the management of these people and the disasters, every country is having its own policy. So that is called disaster management policy, wherein the administrative authorities are going to make the decisions whenever a decision, that is a disaster is going to take place, how to carry about these, what we can say, the pre-operative or post-operative, or during disaster. So what are the operations that we should execute, carry out? Financial support, food security, safety of the people. For all these things, they have made the policy. Okay, so that has been enacted in the Policies and Rules on Disaster Management Act of 2009. So it is mainly aiming at all aspects of disaster management, including what should be the institutional, what we can say, the support, legal and financial arrangement to prevent the disaster, to mitigate the disaster, and by chance if the disaster is going to take place, how to be prepared to meet the challenges. So what are all the techno-legal regimes that we have to look in, technological legal regimes? So because you cannot just simply take the people and dump them in wherever you like it. No, it is not that way. So for that, there are certain rules and regulations that has been in detail written in this act, and that is Policies and Rules on Disaster Management Act 2009, which is going to mainly attend to all the problems related with the disasters, including the response, relief and rehabilitation, reconstruction, recovery, capacity development, knowledge management, and including research and development for further improvement of the population or community in any area. That is how Disaster Management Act, it itself is so lengthy that it takes the entire semester, like for a course to be held. So that will be there. So we are going to be governed by such type of acts, rules and regulations, wherein very systematically we can involve in controlling or mitigating these disasters. So the basic principles of disaster management policy is one should prevent the disaster, minimize the casualties or prevent further casualties, rescue the victims, and first aid provision should be there, and to evacuate the people, proper measures should be taken, proper medical treatment or care should be taken, and for their, what we can say, reconstruction of their livelihood should be made. So with these principles, that management policy has been done in India as well as even in some other country. Some changes may be there, but overall, as per Indian disaster management policy, these are the principles that has been present or notified in that policy. Thank you one and all for your patient listening. So with this, I tried my level best. See, these are all the aspects that we could have discussed one-to-one rather than online in the offline method. But very precisely, I want to put everything in a nutshell as to how, if all these things are not going to be taken care of, the human health, ultimately, you may do any property, you may achieve any position, you may go to any rank, but basic need is that you need food, shelter, water, and a clean health. You need food, shelter, water, and clean health, good health. So, and you are going to live for a short span of time when compared to many other animals, So as an average, as I told you, an Indian is going to live for about 62 years as compared to an American who lives for around 82 to 83 years. So when that is the shortness of your lifespan, by the time you realize yourself and grow up yourself and acquire little knowledge, you will be almost 25 plus, 25 plus. And when that, during that period, if you have got at least some elementary knowledge related to these disasters and management aspects or the health issues or something else like that, how we can make use of all these things to rescue the people in the vicinity or the area, or in even in our own area. Suppose suddenly an earthquake is going to take place, how we should regulate ourselves, regulate the people in our vicinity, control our people, control the emotions, control our stresses, and how to educate them, how to infuse the confidence in them for further livelihood. Like that, various problems that one can share and take care of each other. So all these things should be done. Otherwise, if you don't adopt the principle of live and let live, right, then what is the use of being a human being? Just because we are having a face, two eyes, two legs, 2 ears, something like that, we are the form of a human being. But what is real human being is the one who is going to have the real human qualities, humanistic approach without discriminatory feelings between the sex, region, religion, caste, and any other barriers. So that is what is a real human quality. And you should have the stewardship ethics. What is that stewardship ethics? Who is a steward? Steward means he is a slave. Steward means he is a slave. Who is a steward? A slave. Suppose you or anybody ask anybody that, are you a steward? They will be angry. I am not a slave. Why you should ask me that? Are you a slave? No, if you ask me that, are you a slave? I will agree that yes, I am a slave. I am a slave. I am a steward. Do you know who is a steward? Steward is the one who takes care of the property and belongings that does not belong to him. It belongs to his master. A steward is a person or an individual who takes care of the property of some owner for which he is not the owner. So suppose you are having some property, and whenever you want to go outside, you want to keep a person to take care of your property. Till you return, it should be safe. So if it is going to be safe till you return, then it is called a sincere steward. So that is what is stewardship ethics. Do you know, we are all not the owners of these resources. So the owner of these resources is nature. We are all the steward. We have born here to take care of these resources, and we should keep it for the future generation. That is what is called stewardship ethics. So if you do not have that stewardship ethics, then it is of no use discussing anything related to either disaster or disaster management or health hazards or any such topic related to the survival of all living entities. So with this, I sincerely thank once again Dr. Ranjan Swami and MHRD here at Mysore, and also for all the teacher friends for your patient listening. I knew very well that this is a bit a dry topic. I cannot make it too much lively also here, because in a science topic we can show certain pictures, slides, mechanisms, and all these things we can do it. But this cannot be made so interesting except just only it is through reading and communication or interaction, little aspects we may learn it. So with this, I once again thank you all for your patient listening. Okay. If you have got anything to be interacted, you are at most welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.